Hello, I'm the Fanart Critic. I look at it so you don't have to. No, I'm sorry. That is horrible. No, never mind all that. Yes, I am the Fanart Critic among many other things. And today we are looking at the fan art of Heartsy Artsy. Heartsy Artsy and I have collaborated on projects before, and she was happy to give me a chance to look at some of her art and have it be reviewed. Here's a picture of her with her fellow changelings as she's hanging out in Ponyville, being scolded by Queen Chrysalis for being too much of a good guy. And here's the picture that she made with all of her friends that she's collaborated with to thank them for all of her subscribers. And there's my OC up there in the upper portion of the picture. So let's get on to Heartsy Artsy's work. Here we see a rather interesting picture of Princess Twilight flying over some kind of body of water because there's a reflection there. Basically tells the story of Princess Twilight flying off through the sunset on some late night. Don't know exactly what kind of emergency she's on. It was important enough for her to bring her crown, an accessory she seldom has when she's just doing casual activities. So apparently she was called away to some kind of important regal business, or perhaps had to harness the elements of harmony, although I'm not ruling out the possibility that she would be casually flying, crown included, especially if this was some kind of copy and paste job or composite shot. It could be very possible that this is a action figure, or a picture of an action figure, and the crown is a permanent fixture upon her head and there was no removing it. In which case this could very well be a casual late night fly for a pretty sunset. In other words, it's twilight at twilight. This next picture stands out to me, and even though there's some divergences in this category from my normal topics, because I normally stick to just My Little Pony content, but a few things stood out from my point of view when I was going through the collection. This is a rather interesting one. It looks like a model came in, or maybe Heartsy Artsy herself did a self-portrait here. Looks like a girl got naked, got body painted as the Spider-Man villain Venom, and then did a self-portrait. Doesn't look like a photograph, but it has realistic proportions, and it seems to be hand-drawn, perhaps taken in front of a mirror, or maybe taken of a model, but it looks like there was some body painting going on. I've seen this body painting arrangement before. This is the kind of thing body painters would totally do. And then there's all these sharp teeth, the black, the long tongue coming down. This is either Kiss in a rather particular mood, or it's Venom from Spider-Man. I'm going with Venom just because I'm nerdier in the direction of comic books more than I am in the direction of rock and roll. But it's definitely a very interesting body paint job, and it has some embellishment that's not body paint going around the frame to finish off the mouth and do these sort of veiny lightning lines. I can just imagine this being an art session where a model came in and Heartsy Artsy and the model sat down and body painted each other, and probably took turns drawing each other made up. Or maybe Heartsy Artsy herself is a body painter, and this is what she looks like. Hard to say, but that's my interpretation of the story that I'm seeing in this picture, and that's what I'm going to go with, until otherwise proven wrong. Here's a interesting picture with a sort of background frame that the kind you find in your computer's memory someplace, like it was just sort of put here from some kind of library of rainbow frames. But in the center we have Rainbow Dash as an Alatorn. In fact, Heartsy drew all of the main 6 as Alatorns. It's like, it finally happened! Darn you, Larson! Like, you finally done it! Darn you! Darn you all to Tartarus! Even Applejack is not exempt from the Alatornism. Yeah, some people say this is very well what could happen to Twilight and her friends, but most of us really hope this doesn't happen. Except for in this case here, Derpy is best Alatorn princess, and I like the little muffin on the head like a little crown. It's an adorable detail, and of course Derpy deserves it. This one is just really zany and fun and kind of silly. Pinkie Pie with her tongue sticking out during the pant, with the rainbow color mane from the end of season 4. Something we haven't seen come back that often in this series. This isn't the first time I've seen a Pinkie Pie with this expression. I had this lined up for a previous Art Critic segment. Don't remember if I ever pointed it out or if I cut it for time. But I love seeing Pinkie Pie with the tongue hanging out and the excited, big-eyed expressions. She has some of the most fun, silliest faces, and it's always a great deal of whimsy to look at her pictures. Speaking of Pinkie Pie, here's another interesting picture of her, this time with the Infinity Gauntlet. I believe that's what it is. I'm not big into Marvel like I am into DC. That could very well be the Thundercats glove that Lionel has, or some kind of power glove, or maybe some World of Warcraft item, but I think it's the Infinity Gauntlet. And if that's the case, and judging by the expression on Pinkie Pie's face, we're all doomed. I do not want to know what kind of crazy world Pinkie Pie would dream up if she'd had the Infinity Gauntlet and started running amok with it. Or then again, maybe I can imagine that world. I think it would end up being like some kind of strange cross between Untold Grandpa and Candyland. Or, you know, like the Candy Kingdom from Adventure Time. Maybe Adventure Time is Pinkie Pie's alternate reality created by the Infinity Glove. Now there's a headcanon. But either way, this is both terrifying and amazing all at the same time. Now here's a fun little picture of the main 6 dressed in some kind of photoshopped zany costumes. By the way that they're all blended out and the fact that Rainbow Dash is holding a mask, I'd say that they're getting ready for Mardi Gras. Or should I say Mardi Gras? I'd like to see that happen in an episode of My Little Pony. The ponies get called by the map to go to the equestrian equivalent of New Orleans. Sure, there's a pony pun name in New Orleans, like New Folines maybe, but they would be celebrating Mardi Gras, and they would come in these costumes, and they'd get to go to all of the festive parades, and people would throw beads at them for taking off their shirts, which would be kind of pointless because they're ponies and it does, but it would still happen anyhow. As we go around the picture, Rarity seems to have some kind of Giganta from the Super Friends TV series thing going on. Rainbow Dash has a very stereotypical Mardi Gras face mask, or possibly some kind of luchador, perhaps. Shipping to the other side, Pinkie Pie has a very typical 80s Valley Girl going on. We've seen her sport this look before in the episode Baby Tates, and I think a few other times. I've even dressed my sim up in this particular 80s getup because it's very Pinkie Pie. Fluttershy seems a little peeved, if you forgive my language, and I think she's some kind of referee or maybe an employee at a Foot Locker. Applejack is doing a marvelous cosplay of Ray Stantz from the Ghostbusters, or possibly a steampunk mad scientist. I prefer the latter. And Twilight, I'm saving the best for last, maybe, because you are the boss, and you got my favorite one here, clearly cosplaying as Ted Standard from Two Best Brothers, because those are totally Ted's glasses, and this is what Ted would look like if he was going to Mardi Gras. The next picture is an interesting one. We have Luna looking at her reflection in the mirror and seeing Nightmare Moon, almost as if you try to escape your past, but you never really forget it. But the thing you must remember, my dear Luna, is that your past is not today. And when you're feeling all alone, your friends can come and get you, and you'll feel like you're home. You'll be like a phoenix burning bright up in the sky. It'll show you that there's another side to you that you cannot deny. But this image definitely gives me the vibe of something familiar that I've seen before but can't quite recall. This next one is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. It tells an interesting story of Heartsy Artsy playing games with her friends, and she just lost the game, like big time. Like, this is a PlayStation game, and she just got beat at it, and she thought she was winning up until a certain point when she just got defeated, and she is stunned. But what's interesting to me even further is that this is the second time in a row that one of my OCs, particularly my OC Time Jump, has been partially imitated in someone else's fan works. I don't know what it is about Time Jump and being imitated by other ponies, but I definitely find it interesting. Now, while the two ponies may have the same cutie mark, this one and Time Jump have drastically different color schemes. They're two completely different species of ponies, and it's clearly based on Marty McFly. Time Jump is based more on the DeLorean itself, and more specifically fills the role of Doc Brown. Time Jump in this OC could potentially be in the same story or even the same universe. And here's a terrifying image from straight out of my nightmares. Heartsy Artsy going a little more changeling and a little less heartsy. I am terrified, too terrified to look at this any longer. And that is all of the pictures that we have to look at today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope Heartsy enjoyed. And until next time, thank you for watching and good night.